You wanna know what's funny? We actually have teachers who watch this channel and learn about debt payoff strategies. And so if you've ever wondered like, "Hey, why didn't anybody ever teach me about these strategies as a kid, K to 12?" It's because I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't mean to insult anybody. It's because the teachers themselves are either struggling financially or working a second job, so they're too tired, right? And once upon a time, a long time ago, I did teaching for like 6 months, and it was like one of the most tiring jobs that I've ever had. And that's why I quit after 6 months. And, if you've been a teacher for like 15, 20 plus years, kudos to you because you're mentally stronger than I am, right? But realistic speaking, if you want to know, like, hey, like, why didn't anybody teach me this as a kid? Is because if you were a student and you're expecting your teacher to teach you this, number one, they're probably are struggling financially themselves, or number two, if they weren't struggling financially, they were probably too tired from their second or third job, right? But it says right here, the majority of the U.S. public school teachers work a second job, and teachers turning to side hustles to pay the bills. And I'm just going to keep hustling. And this is from 3 days ago. And listen, if you're a teacher who watches this channel, I love you, right? No hate to any of the teachers who watch this channel because I know you're doing your best, and it's the system that's wrong, right? Like the system doesn't support you or give you the support that you need in order for you to succeed. Okay. I don't know why I'm laughing, but maybe that's just to hide the pain of not having learned this when I was younger, but it's all right. As an adult, we have to take responsibility for our own learning. And I know that's why you're here today to learn all about this, right? Or to learn about debt payoff strategies and show how easy it is to pay off debt, right? It's super duper easy to pay off debt, especially if you know what you're doing. And so, what's the first step? Well, it's simply creating a budget, right? Because your budget is your debt attack plan. You have your income, expenses, leftover checking and savings, and then in your expense breakdown, you list every single debt that you have, right? And on top of that, you list your personal expenses. So, what are your personal expenses not tied to debt? It's food, gas, insurance, and all that other good stuff. So, imagine that if you were debt free, these were the things you'd still have to pay for. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is use something called the velocity method. And with this method, okay, I'll show you this that we're going to assume that we have the same income and the same expenses, right? But we're going to change the flow of money. So, we're going to put a zero here, create our checking and savings as not the final destination of our money, but the midpoint, right? And that's something I learned in school too, the midpoint formula. X1 minus X2 divided by 2. Oh wait, X1 plus X2 divided by 2 and Y1 plus Y2 divided by 2. And that's a midpoint. I think I learned that in 6th grade math, and I actually struggled with that for quite a while. But you know what I realized? Is that if I struggle with something initially in the beginning and I just do it 10,000 times, nobody really cares like that you struggled in the beginning. The same thing with these debt payoff strategies. Really easy to do it. It's actually really hard to kind of get a grasp of this because you have to deal with a lot of numbers. But once you realize it's just like A minus B, A plus B math, he's like, oh, it's like I'm in 6th grade again. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna assume that we're gonna not gonna save money, right? So it's gonna be a little bit different from how we normally think about banking. And what we're gonna do is put all of our paycheck into something called a line of credit. So if you don't know what a line of credit is, just basically a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again. Right. So main two tools for that is either a personal or home equity line of credit. You use a business line of credit if you got a business, but the most common lines of credit that most people will use is either the personal or the home equity. And with the home equity, you usually get a lower interest rate and higher credit limit, right? So even though credit card is technically a line of credit, we're not going to use a credit card to put all of our money in, and we're just going to use basic common sense, right? If we use a credit card and we put this entire $6,100 into, like, let's say this credit card, can we use this credit card to pay the other credit cards and loans? No, or it's extremely hard to do that, right? Like, you don't want to, use plastique.com or balance transfers because that's just way too stressful. And why not just use a line of credit where you have immediate access to cash, right? Immediate access, and you could just do a click of the button on the bank's website, and it's like, whoa, cash is right there, right? Now, what we're going to do is move some debts into the line of credit, but I'm just going to address the elephant in the room, right? If you only have $38 left over, well, can you go to a bank and get like a $200,000 home equity line of credit? The answer to that is probably not, because banks don't lend money to people who need it. And you have to understand that the way that the bank sees you, okay, is like when you need money, the bank automatically thinks, "Oh my goodness, this is a person who's not going to pay me back," right? Because the bank has a human language translator that they've developed over the years, which basically says if a person ever says or thinks even the thought, I need money, therefore I'm going to the bank translates that as this person's never going to pay me back. That's why a bank never lends money to people who need it. Now, why do we demonstrate, getting a free and clear line of credit? Believe it or not, it's actually easier to understand the importance of a line of credit when you just show a free and clear one. If you ever want to see a more realistic scenario that I've done in the paid 99-cent YouTube channel membership, $4.10 left over in 22 debts and a maxed out line of credit. Oh boy, you should see that one. And I was there for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay. So you'll watch that. You'll be amazed about what we can do with this. But just for the sake of educational purposes and learning, it's just much easier to understand the concept when you have a free and clear line of credit. And I'll just show you this. So what we're going to do is rank our debts using something called the cash flow index. And if you don't know what that is, basically a formula of your balance of your debt, right? 5,000 divided by 175, and you do this for all of your debts, right? And then what this is a ranking system, and it tells you how much bang you get for your buck when you pay off debt. And we're just going to move debt this way into a line of credit. And you'll see that we'll even be able to immediately increase our cash flow. Okay, so cash flow index here. What we're going to do is rank from smallest to largest. Now, I've already done this already, so that's why it's ranked this way. But what does this high number mean? Well, this high number, I'm going to show you, I'll tell you what this means, is that basically in order to pay off the debt, you have to pay a lot of money in order for itty bitty amount of cash flow. A lot of money for itty bitty amount of cash flow. Okay. And so that's no good. Like, we don't want to pay a lot of money for just an itty bitty amount of cash flow. Okay. So this is what we're going to do, is that we're going to start moving some of our debts, and we're going to take the lowest ones, especially below 50, and move them into a line of credit. So how much credit card debt is this? 5, 8, 15, 27. And I'm going to sum it up, and that's going to be $55,000 of credit card debt. Okay, so let's just move this right here. We're not going to move all of our debts, right? So we have to be, we have to adhere to this system about getting cash flow. And some people on the internet always say, "Oh, move the loan into line of credit." No, we're not going to do that. Just be strategic about this. But $55,000 of credit card debt, and then guess what happens here? These 4 credit cards, the payments now go to 0, and now we literally go from $38 to $1,816.05 in cash flow. See that? Like, see how easy it is? You just literally went from $38.55 to $1,816.05 of cash flow, and we did not do anything. Okay, we literally just, you see how like the income is the same, and then we just kind of shifted some expenses, maybe some quote creative accounting. Although every time I've heard the word creative accounting, I think that implies you're going to jail. But we're not going to go to jail, because we're just not saving money. We're just moving money into a line of credit, right? The bank wants you to use their line of credit once you get one. The thing that the bank hates the most is, or one of the things that they hate the most is that, if they have a open credit card open or a line of credit and you don't use it, right? They hate that. Okay. So what we're doing is just shifting some of our debt into a line of credit. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our entire paycheck into the line, take our expenses out, and then rinse and repeat over and over again. And after every single month, the balance should go down about $1,800. I'll show you how to calculate this. Okay. So what we're going to do is take the previous less balance interest and then subtract our cash flow. And then what we're going to do is take the average daily balance, right? Multiply it by the interest rate, 0.08, and then you divide by 12. And then bam. Okay. And then you see that the debt balance is going down relatively easy. And then in month, let's see, what month will it be paid off? 34, it's paid off, right? 34 months is paid off. So I'm just gonna do this 34 months, and then that's gonna be 55K. All right, and then now we have 3 more loans, which is the auto loan, student loan, and the mortgage. So let's go ahead and do this, and 34, 34, 34, okay. And then you just see that we are gonna follow the same system, cash flow index, lowest to highest, anything below 50, that's definitely one we definitely wanna pay off. And so here, you'll see that this auto loan is 20 grand balance left, and if we pay off the 20 grand, we get a $800 back in cash flow. Whereas with this one, 31 grand, we only get about 464, right? So which one gives you more bang for your buck, even though this has a higher interest rate? Okay, it's going to be this one. So let's go ahead and move this, and then move it into the line of credit. Okay, I'm going to do this, and then this is going to be plus 20607.15. And then this is going to be 0. And then that's going to be $2,644 of cash flow. And then copy and paste. So minus 2644.8. And then I'm going to copy and paste. And then we see that in 42 months, this has been paid off, right? So 42 months. Okay. Whoopsie. Yeah, so 42 months. And let's go ahead and write this down in our milestones right here. 42 months. Maybe 55 plus 45. This will be 100K. And then we have our student loan and the mortgage, right? So this is going to be 42 months. So I'm going to put 0 here, and then be 42, 42. And then here, now we have the latest balance. So this is going to be 29 grand and 217 grand. And then we see that this is the cash flow index right here. So this is going to be the next debt that we pay off. And you know, if you know the ranges, 0 to 50 is like, yeah, pay it off. 50 to 100 is caution. Over 100 is kind of don't pay it off. So I have my own set of rules for this too. If it's like 50, if it's above 50 and the interest rate is like same or higher, you can move it into a line of credit. It should be relatively safe. Now this one's 7%, line of credit is 8%, but you know, they're very similar, but we should be fine moving this into a line of credit. The thing that we want to be careful about is that low interest rate 30-year mortgage with that high cash flow index, right? So, but we're going to take care of the student loan first. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to just do copy, paste, plus 29037.43. And then now this is going to be $464. And then this is going to be 3109.23. Okay, and then I'm going to copy and paste. So just do this. So that's going to be minus 3109.23. And then I'm going to copy and paste. And then this is going to be 52 months, right? So 52 months it's been paid off. Okay, 52 months. So now it's going to be 140K. Okay. So 235,000 is the final, or the mortgage is the final payment that's left. So now 52 months, what's the balance of the mortgage? 212,000. So look at this relatively high cash flow index. So there's a reason why we can't move this entire loan into a line of credit, is because what this is saying is that, hey, you have a big balance at 3%. If you move the entire big balance at 3% to an 8, you're only getting $990 of cash flow. You're getting itty bitty amount of cash flow for this big balance. So it might not be a good idea to move this loan into a line of credit. However, let me just show you something that will blow your mind. Okay. If you do it in small chunks or small pieces and move parts of the loan into a line of credit, you can still apply the same strategy, right? So think of this as an alternative to extra payments. So if you can do extra payments, which is the default that nobody does, it's kind of like overpaying a credit card. How many people do you know overpay a credit card? Most people cannot. And the reason why they cannot is because overpaying a credit card leads to friction in how your money flows between your bank accounts. right? That's why almost nobody does it. Same thing with the amortized loan. So what I'm going to show you here is that with this calculator that we have, okay, that all we got to do is just put in the income, the expenses, how much we're moving into the line of credit. And this is going to be, how much is it? 6,100. And the expenses is $2,000. Okay. So this is going to be, we're going to do this one last, but the original balance, okay, what's the original balance is 235,000, 3%. What's the payment amount? It's 990.77. Okay. And then what's the current balance right now? It is 212,635.7. 212,635.7. Okay. So let's move 6,500 into the line of credit. And then you see it gets paid off in like 4.7 years, right? So 4.7 years, 16 grand of interest. Okay. Now take a look at this. Okay. So let's say that we were, we got really, really lucky and we were able to get a 1% line of credit, because there's a lot of people out there who think, oh my goodness, you're insane. You're paying a 3% loan with an 8% line of credit, you're going to overpay, right? And I would argue that even if you got a 1% line of credit, that wouldn't even make much of a difference, right? Maybe like 2 grand. Okay. So what I mean by that, well, let's say, imagine that you got a 1% line of credit. Look at how much that changes, about like $1,000 or so, right? Like, okay, there are people out there who don't understand this, so they'll say like 8% line of credit, it's like the end of the world. Whereas what you have to understand from a holistic point of view is that no, it doesn't really matter. I mean, yes, obviously you want the lowest interest rate, but if you pay off the debt in the right order and you're not segregating your income, meaning that you're putting it all in one place and you're constantly using your money to pay off debt, then for the most part you should be fine. But even if you had a 1% line of credit, the 1 and the 8 makes almost no difference. It's like a blip on the balance sheet, right? Like, hold on, let me see. Still 4.7 years, but you'll have more money. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just like babbling on and on. But anyways, what I'm saying is this, right? If this is a full loan replacement, that is the only time the interest rate really matters. Okay. Like, let me just kind of show you this. Like, I'm going to replace the loan with the line of credit. That's 50 grand, right? And then if I do a 1%, that's 4 grand or 4.9 grand. Yes, a full loan replacement is when the interest rate matters, but when you're doing it in small pieces or small chunks, you'll realize that there's like a sort of like an equilibrium interest that you pay that, yes, it does kind of swing a little bit to the left if you have a lower interest rate, but it doesn't really matter that much. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and do this. And let me just show you this too. So, some people are looking for the amount, like what's the best amount to do this? And I'll be honest, like, it's not gonna, the higher you go, the more you'll pay. But if you just do it in small amounts, it's not going to make that much of a difference, right? So I would say like maybe like the comfort zone is probably like 2 times whatever your cash flow is, or you could just do a little bit less, maybe whatever is tied to, your monthly income. But let's say I do like, 5,000 versus 6,500, this will barely even move, right? Like the 5,000, it goes up a little bit. Okay. So a lot of factors, but I'm just saying as a general rule, you don't have to worry about the amount that you move into the line of credit, as long as it's just small, right? And what's small? I don't know, maybe like 1 or 2 times the amount of your cash flow. That should be enough, right? Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for today, folks. This is Korean Atlanta Mentorship here with another video. Have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. So hopefully when you come back from church, this is like extra study after church, right? Because they're not going to teach you this at church, which is really weird because, I think there's a mindset of scarcity when it comes to money, just not in church, but just the population in general. So a lot of people feel like money is scarce when reality it's not. Okay. All right. Well, have a great day, everybody. I'll see you on the next video, and peace out. Peace out. Isn't that what most YouTubers say? Or like, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the like button and hype. And I think there's a hype button nowadays too. Don't forget to hype the video. which is really confusing now.